Hello and good afternoon. My name is Tim Dodd, but I'm better known as the Everyday Astronaut. But I haven't always been a genuine fake astronaut. As a matter of fact, I used to be, and since 2008, I've actually been a professional photographer, mostly doing weddings all around the world. And what my wedding clients often didn't know is I would sneak a spacesuit in the trunk of the rental car, and then after the wedding, go around and look for cool shot opportunities. And this is fun for me, but let's get started on how exactly I wound up with a spacesuit in the first place, right? I was sitting at my favorite coffee shop in my hometown of Cedar Falls, Iowa, conveniently located as far away from anything space-related as humanly possible. And I'm just sitting there and I see this article that says, you could own a piece of an Apollo spacecraft. And I'm like, yes, I could. So I click on the website. $400,000 is the starting bid. I'm like, no, I can't. Okay. But maybe there is something I could afford. So I, start being smart and scrolling through, looking for things that hadn't been bid on. Lo and behold, there's this. Russian high-altitude survival suit, $330. Let's give it a shot. Next thing you know, a stinky, old Soviet-era high-altitude flight suit arrives at my doorstep. And what's the first thing you do when you get your first spacesuit? You put it on and take a cool picture. But there's more to this story, because I wish it had just gone this smoothly, but unfortunately it didn't go anywhere near that simple. It involved me first excitedly putting on, the jumpsuit portion, which, by the way, has this thick rubber lining, smells terrible, and is insanely, insanely hot. The next part is you shove this neck ring. It feels like you're going through your own birthing process, basically, as an adult every time. It still sucks. You squeeze into that. And then, of course, the next exciting part, as I was super excited to do, put on the helmet and play around with it for a while to figure out how to make it lock, because unfortunately there weren't instructions with this used flight suit. And if they were, they would have been in Russian, and that wouldn't have done me much good. Anyway, I eventually figured it out, locked it in place. The second it locked, I go, I can't breathe. Unfortunately, I had no idea how to undo the locking mechanism that I had just locked, because it's a one-way thing, and you have to know this little trick behind it, which I didn't know. So all of a sudden, I'm sitting there immediately seeing my premature obituary. Idiot dies alone in spacesuit in his living room. And I finally get smart, with my good brain and things, and I follow the air hose down, and I see it has a plug at the end of the air hose, so I undo that, which returns air to my wonderful face, allowing me to be here today. Moral of that story is, when you guys get your first spacesuit someday, make sure you have someone with you that knows how to do the locking mechanism, so you don't do what I did. So that's the first time this thing almost killed me. There's never been any more. Yeah. So the next part of this story is when I got invited as a professional photographer to come down here to Florida to shoot a rocket launch at Kennedy Space Center. And of course, as I'm packing, I ask my friends, send a text message, should I take this spacesuit? And they're like, oh, duh, of course, you gotta take this spacesuit to Kennedy Space Center. I'm like, you're right. So I did. They did not allow me inside to go into the visitor center wearing the spacesuit. I tried different channels of the security, even like, oh, I'm just checking in, like, sorry, you can't bring this. Oh, next person maybe? Nope, no one let me in. So I just stayed outside, no big deal. Got this picture, took one with the meatball. The funny thing about this is, as I'm taking this picture, a line formed because people assumed I was part of the attractions. After literally 20 minutes, I joke, I kid you not, 20 minutes, I stood there. Yep, okay. Next, and it's 80, you guys know, it's Florida, it's 85 degrees. I have this thick rubber lining, this huge spacesuit, and I am sweating literally to the point where I'm about to pass out. And finally, I just realized, okay, stop, I can't. I took off the spacesuit, and it just puddle of sweat. Disgusting, sorry. But I vowed to never put that spacesuit back on in the Florida heat ever again. Until about 3 minutes later when I saw I had to take this picture because it was so great. And the dumb thing about this one is this was taken with a 300 millimeter lens, which means it's I'm very far away, probably 200 feet or so. So you could kind of picture the process. This is back in the day when I only had a self-timer on my camera. No fancy remote, so click, beep, 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 10 seconds to sprint my 200 feet out to the car and pose. I did that twice before I realized I'm literally going to die again. I need to stop doing this. And the best part about this, I know there's security footage somewhere from some vantage point of this whole situation. I need to find that, but yeah. But the moral of this story is I come home back to Iowa, and I was really sad that there's nothing space related. You know, I grew up liking space. You know, I mean, I had space shuttle Legos and bed sheets and posters. But in my adult life, I kind of fell out of love of space. I got more into music and other things. And when I got home, I just had the biggest bug to try to express my childhood obsession of space. It came back. So I started a photo series called Everyday Astronaut. And the initial series was going to take you through a day in the life of everyday astronauts. So this is how it started. And I kind of released these all at once. So we'll go through them here real quick. But the thing is, I decided, as I loved space and was really falling in love with the facts of space, I decided to hide Easter eggs in there for the pedantic space nerds on the internet to at least enjoy as well. So in this picture, for instance, this is titled Good Morning World. On the nightstand, you see I'm hitting an alarm clock. It says 6:07. And that's the last wake-up call alarm on the last space shuttle mission, STS-135, which was in 2011. They have a call time alarm to actually wake up for the day, and it was the last time they ever hit an alarm, Americans riding an American spaceship back to Earth, 6:07. On that same nightstand, you see a little piece of paper. That's the echocardiogram of Alan Shepard, who was the first American to ever leave Earth from the United States and go to space. So kind of in the same little frame there, we have the first American in space and something that represents the last Americans to ride an American spacecraft that launched from the United States and landed in the US. That will change soon. We'll get into that later, maybe. So that was the first picture. The next one was decisions. I photoshopped that suit to make it so there was 7 flight suits, representing 1 for every flight suit option on the space shuttle. The flight deck has 7 seats. I'm also holding a newspaper talking about Yuri Gagarin's inaugural space flight, man in space. So I found a lot of fun hiding these Easter eggs. This is called brushing up on orbital mechanics. And as soon as this one went online, immediately, within 5 minutes, someone goes, "Oh, you're missing a G for gravity." I was like, oh my gosh, of course. And I go, well, maybe that's why I haven't quite figured out how to get off Earth yet. So my escape velocity, you know, I'm not very good at it. This one's called Boldly Going Where No Astronaut Has Gone Before. Now this one looks, I mean, so what? It's laundry. Well, fun fact, they don't actually do laundry on the International Space Station. As a matter of fact, they wear their garments for up to 2 weeks. That's because it's physically barely touching your skin. It doesn't come in contact in zero gravity. And water is such a valuable resource, it needs to be drank and then recycled instead of wasted trying to do laundry. So it actually ends up coming back to Earth in a big fiery, basically their garbage chute, which is hucking it back at Earth. But there is one astronaut, Don Pettit, who is up on the wall there, who actually reused his underwear as a plant seed for basil seed. So this is in tribute to him, but otherwise boldly going where no astronaut has gone before. This one's called Darn It, Chris Hadfield. And that's because I photoshopped Chris Hadfield, who is a famous Canadian astronaut. I photoshopped him onto Time magazine as their coveted astronaut of the year, which we all are very familiar with, obviously. And within 1 hour of this being on Reddit, he commented, and his comment was, "The suit chafes a bit, don't it?" And I go, yes, I always knew my first interaction with one of my favorite astronauts would be about perspiration and chafing. So that made me very happy. This one's called It's Just Not the Same. You have to take a certain approach when you walk onto a playground with this weird, mischievous grin on your face, putting on a spacesuit, reassuring all the parents that everything's fine. This one's titled I Prefer My Ice Cream a la Space. And it's that freeze-dried ice cream that we all see at museum shops. I feel like that's a staple of space food, right? Everyone's familiar with space ice cream, right? Did you know? It's only flown once on Apollo 10. So that's why there's the Apollo 10 mission patch sticker hidden in the window somewhere. I can't zoom in here and show you, but trust me, it's there. Apollo 10, they took freeze-dried ice cream up, they opened the bag, and of course, poof, dust everywhere. Dust and sensitive electronics tend to not mix too well. So space ice cream has been no more. But we can still enjoy it here on Earth, obviously. I love it. This one's called Time to Mow. And the funny thing about this is a lot of these images have a lot of Photoshop. This one does not. This happened. My friend actually owns a Segway. This is at his parents' house. Best of all, his dad had no idea, and he shows up seeing an astronaut mowing his lawn on a Segway. Yeah, I would have loved to hear him pull up just, kids. But the other funny thing about this is I was really dumb and actually mowed the entire lawn backwards first, from the background to the foreground, which means, if I was smart, I would have mowed the front bit first and then the back bit so you could have seen the difference in height of grass. Instead, I mowed the entire back thing and leave everything but the 5-foot strip in front of me unmowed. Next time, I'll do better. This one's called Walking My Dog Laika. Laika's the first dog in space. Don't worry, this is heavily photoshopped. Don't call PETA. This is 3 photographs, me walking, my friend walking his dog with a leash like this, and a drone which looks like it's from 1982 Radio Shack already. This was just in 2014. How has stuff changed that quickly? But yeah, that's that picture. This one's called Testing Out My Solid Rocket Boosters. And the Easter egg in this one is the license plate is Go for TLI, which means Go for Translunar Injection, which is the call-out they'd give on Apollo missions, giving permissions that everything was nominal and you're good to go. They will relight the S4B upper stage of the Saturn V rocket, and they'll give it burns enough to give it 5,000 extra meters per second to intercept a rendezvous with the moon. And that's the call-out that every astronaut in the Apollo mission they wanted to hear, because if they didn't hear that Go for TLI, they weren't going to the moon. So yeah, kind of a fun one. Now this one, I don't even like to talk about this one. I think I was losing a lot of sleep during this time. And this is the moment when I thought of this picture, I honestly had to have a brief conversation with myself to decide, am I going insane? Am I a serial killer? Like, these are the actual thoughts. This one gets weird. So this one's titled Houston, We Have a Problem. We're all familiar with that, obviously. And that comes from, the Apollo 13 mission, which famously had an anomaly on their way to the moon. And it happened on April 20th, 1970, which is the time between Aquarius and Pisces, the two, whatever you want to call them, which is Aquarius is a man pouring water, and Pisces is a fish. So I'm a man pouring water on a fish. You can see that represented in the calendar there, which shows April 1970. And you can maybe barely see it, but there are those 2 constellations. But here's the part. Okay, so what? So what, Tim? That's normal stuff. Get to the crazy part. Okay, the star crunches. I don't know who bakes star crunches. First of all, an idiot. But here I am about to place my star crunches into the oven. And they're flying everywhere in a random pattern, right? Wrong. They are in the exact constellation alignments of those 2 constellations. Yeah, no. No. I don't know. I don't know. Why? Okay, so then So that was kind of the end of that initial series, and I continued to do this because I had a response from people that I didn't expect a response from. You know, I was my parents' friends and like my friends that had no interest in space were loving this. They were just genuinely excited, and it was fueling me to continue to do this. So I kept going, and obviously it continued on as Everyday Astronaut, mostly as an Instagram project and just posting it on Reddit. But I just decided I'm going to just keep taking fun pictures and kind of see what happens. Now, that first series required a lot of Photoshop work, and I heard a lot of people going, oh, that's just Photoshop. So I decided, all right, Internet, I've had enough of you today. We're going to do a whole series without Photoshop. So that's what this is. This is a picture looking down at concrete with some 24 by 36-inch printed out windows. To my surprise, in the middle of Iowa, I posted on Facebook, does anyone have a parachute? Within 20 minutes, I found out one of my good friends has a parachute. That's 100% true, and it's orange even. So perfect library, I'm ready for that. So that was the first one. I did a few more. This one is a 50-minute exposure, which allows you to see the rotation of the Earth, and the stars end up moving alongside that. And you might go, Tim, how did you stand so still for 50 minutes? You are in the wrong career. You should be a professional statue. Well, there's a trick. I'm not in the suit at all. Those are some light stands and a tripod, and then some wires to make the gloves kind of look like something. Yeah, so that's that. Then I ended up traveling literally all over the place just because. I was in Myanmar for a 2-week project to do some documentation of this particular orphanage through a nonprofit. And I decided I didn't really know what I was supposed to do other than document the work that they're doing. So I'm like, I'm going to bring my spacesuit and teach the kids about space. And that was one of the best experiences of my life. Somewhere in this, all of a sudden, I actually get a phone call. And it's a group with an organization called NASA. Never heard of the people, but I gave them a listen, and come to find out, they were really excited and had been seeing my images all over the place, and they said, we really like how you communicate with the general public and get them excited. Let us know what you need. Okay, yeah. You might be able to do something with that. Cool. So I ended up going around different space facilities, such as the old historic mission control where humans, where they controlled the Apollo-era flights, and all those, all the computers in this room and all the computers at the time that took people to the moon were less powerful than my laptop that I'm playing my favorite space game on in this picture, something that just boggles my mind. I also went out to Plumbrook, where they have this vacuum chamber. These speakers are nitrogen horns that can produce 156 decibels. They blast satellites and payloads to make sure they can survive the launch environment. It's fascinating, so of course I took my guitar. Then I got to see the world's largest vacuum chamber, so I asked them, do you have a vacuum I could borrow? You have to vacuum. Somebody's got to vacuum the vacuum chamber. I got to see Skylab. They have an original. This is in Houston, and they actually let me go in there and jump on it. Come to find out later, I think the person that allowed me to do that kind of got in trouble, so shh. It's like literally fragile things that are very rare. Then I started getting asked by different rocket companies, hey, come shoot with us. This rocket took off and left Earth 4 hours later. I got to go stand and got really close to it, and that still blows my mind. And then I got really into dad jokes. So this one's titled, "The food here is great, but this place really lacks an atmosphere." This one's meteor showers. The worst part about being an astronaut is the meteor showers. This one's, "I'm glad I ordered extra long." I was dog sitting this dog. The owners had no idea. All of a sudden they see this picture on my Instagram account. This was Halloween last year. I gave out rockets. That's my nephew, 2 of my nephews, and my niece, who's the adorable cat, and then one of their friends. Yeah. And that brings me to this, which is kind of how I wrap up. This is, again, my nephew in his little spacesuit that he got once. And this was during that no Photoshop, so I actually built a wall, cut a hole in it, and made it look like a mirror. And this one's titled, I Always Knew What I Wanted to Be. And oddly enough, I didn't. I had no idea. I had no idea my career path would change into science communication. And I get asked often, why space? Why? And I think the most poetic and most beautiful reason to me, and what means a lot to my family and my friends and my community can be summarized in 1975. The United States and the Soviet Union, two enemies, literally Cold War enemies, docked and rendezvoused spacecraft together in the Apollo-Soyuz mission. When I think about it, I still have to hold back tears because it's literally two enemies coming together over a common bond of exploration. And to me, that's what space is. It's us as humans, all as neighbors, as community, as one species coming together. There's no more borders or issues like that. We are all together. And as we explore the cosmos, that brings us together. And to me, that's the most beautiful sentiment. And I think I've found that my purpose is that we can all share in that excitement without being a rocket scientist. I'm a 4-time college dropout / flunk out. And I just fell in love with this stuff as a totally normal person. Well, maybe normal. You'll be the judge. And that's the whole point, is you don't have to be a rocket scientist. There isn't some pedestal of, well, that's only for an elite group of people. It is for now, but as we grow and as this becomes more and more of a common thing, I'm just ready to champion it and help everyone understand why the significance of space and why we need to continue to explore together. So you can follow along with that. You can find me anywhere online, Everyday Astronaut. It's been a fun journey so far, and so far Sarasota's been an incredible part of this. So thank you guys so much for your hospitality. Enjoy the rest of the conference.